Welcome to the Broken Metatarsal. My name is Rich Williams, and here begins Series 2 of this Planet Football podcast, where we celebrate everything that noughties football had to offer. Joining me today, as per usual, the Planet Football editorial duo of Stoke supporting Mark Holmes and Leeds supporting Rob Conlon. Hello, chaps.
Hello there.
Hello.
That was a little bit underwhelming for the start of Series 2.
We're back.
That's better, I think. And our special guest, Manchester United fan and comedian, does help to have a sense of humour if you're a Man U fan these days. Danny McLoughlin's here.
How you doing? You all right?
We're good, man, and thanks for coming back.
Thanks for having me back.
Last time we spoke and you were on this, we were talking about how good Man U were, but we didn't really want another hour of that. So that would have been, for Rob and I, Leeds fans, it was just hellish, to be fair.
Yeah, well, we can't talk about that now either, can we? So,
well, exactly. My favourite thing about the last time you were here is that you admitted that you can't really enjoy watching football games until they've been won. You're that kind of football fan that you didn't even watch the Champions League final with anyone else against Chelsea. You had to watch it by yourself because you just need to. You can't deal with anyone else around you.
Yeah, and it's always best to say that you didn't watch it, and then you don't have to deal with any of the nonsense after. That's my favourite one. That's why I do it, is in case that it's a heavy defeat. You go, I didn't watch it, and then no one can say, oh yeah. You're like, whatever, mate, I didn't watch it.
This is great. There's two types of fans, football fans, I think, like positive football fans and negative football fans, always expecting the worst. I'm a negative football fan. You're also
totally.
a negative football fan,
Yeah.
so it's all good. We're back, and lots of stuff coming up this series as well. I nearly said season because we've had a slight debate over whether your second series or second season, Mark.
It's got to be series. It's in the UK.
Second season syndrome, we want to avoid that, so we're going to go series.
Also true, although it is a football podcast, so maybe the word season.
You tell us.
We're going with series. But lots coming up. We've got some special guests coming up and loads more naughties talk as well.
We hope so, yeah. As usual, we're organising it as well as a piss in a brewery. But we hope so. We hope there's going to be some good stuff.
Just be glad you're not on the WhatsApp group organising times and places and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so this episode is brought to you by our friends at TBMIndex, the football stock market where you can buy and sell players for real money. Sign up today at footballindex.co.uk and use the code TBMIndex to trade with a £500 money back guarantee. New customers only, 18 plus. Right. Each episode, we dig into one element of the noughties, from the sublime to the ridiculous. Today, it's the players you love to hate, the notorious nigglers, the subtle stampers, the blatant rule benders, the chiefs of the on-field mischief, the blasé backchatters, the referees renegades. Yes, this episode is dedicated to the greatest shithouses.
They're all around Ruud van Nistelrooy. Martin Keown was in his face right after he missed the penalty. He's spiky at the best of times, Martin.
Theon Dublin was very annoyed about something Robbie Savage had said when he got up from that tackle.
And now Pepe goes down and watch him ride the round. Clumsy early, but that wasn't clumsiness by Juve. There's the clearance, and that's a bad tackle, Brian. That's a bad tackle. There was only ever going to be one outcome here, isn't there?
Shithouses. Before we start, Mark, just define for us what we're talking about when we're talking about shithouses.
Yeah, we are quite specific about this because me and Rob love shithouses and talk about quite a lot. So we're not talking about hard men, Roy Keane. There's nothing snide about Roy Keane who'll do it in your face and he'll expect it back. So we're not talking about that kind of player. We're not talking about the proper thugs, certain players bring to mind, Ben Thatcher with the elbow. We're not talking about that. There's nothing snide about that. We're talking about the players that are not also the complete and utter tossers, the scumbags, that there's just nothing likeable about them whatsoever. Hey, El Hadj Juve. We're talking about the players. It's just the little sneaky stuff, the pulls, the pushes, digging in the armpit air and getting in players' faces and diving and winding up, all that kind of stuff, which when it's your team's player doing it, you just absolutely love. And when it's an opposition player doing it, you hate, but you can't help but respect it. That kind of player.
Before we get into the ones that we think are on that list, and people have been tweeting us as well, so at Planet Football, so thanks for doing that. Everyone loves to have a shithouse on their team, don't they?
Yeah, definitely. Why wouldn't you? You need one, I think. You need that guy when it's not going well, you're getting beat, you're like, oh, at least he's going to sneaky kick someone. or wave a fake yellow card. I think that's my favourite shithouse move, is the fake yellow card. Or the when the ref wants to give a foul, but he may have forgotten that he's already been booked. The guy that goes up and goes, "Hey, ref, you booked him." I love that one. And then everyone else "Shut up, mate! Don't grass him up." The little grass shithouse.
I love the fake yellow cards because British people get so wound up about them. Like someone in the ref's face saying, "Ref, book him, send him off." That's fine. But as soon as you wave an imaginary yellow card, that's below the belt. What are you doing?
What I love about the fake yellow card is that you never know whether it's a fake red card. I think there should be two movements. There should be a more specific one for a fake straight red.
Two hands
yeah,
up,
two hands up maybe. Yeah, pretend to go in your pocket. I don't know. You could have a big mime for it.
You got to go to the back pocket first for that one, maybe.
And
then brandish it.
Book.
And Rob, being Leeds fan like myself, I mean, every good Leeds team in particular needs a good shithouse.
Well, we're famed for it. We're called Dirty Leeds for a reason, and yeah, we thrive on it. And I wouldn't want it any other way, quite frankly.
Okay, we're all going to throw in some suggestions as to who we reckon the best ones from the noughties were. I thought what we might do is we really want to come to some sort of league table here of who the best are. So I've kind of narrowed this down to some judging categories, 4 categories. So when you are putting forward your case for a particular player, please do bear these in mind. And if you've got any categories you want to add, that's fine. But these are the ones I came up with. Number 1 is sneakiness, which really just how sneaky and sly they are, because I feel that is a really encompasses the kind of player that we're looking for at the moment. Is that reasonable with everyone?
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay. Second one, consistency. I'm not looking for what it happened one-off. It might have been a good move, but it was just a one. I'm looking for that player that at the start of the game. And again, we speak to Mark Halsey later about those players that before the game he knew, he's going to cause me trouble today. The players that you knew were going to do this on a regular basis, game in, game out. They were the consistent ones.
Yeah, agreed.
Fair enough. Third one is size of stage. Players that have managed to do this on the bigger games, maybe it's in a game that really matters, or on the world stage, get bonus points for this, for doing it, for having the cheek to do it in front of the biggest audiences.
I'd argue the real shithouses don't care about the stage. And they'd happily do it in the park on a Sunday because they live for the shithousery. They're not just playing up to the car. How do you know the difference between a bad shithouse and just a showman on the big stage?
Yeah.
The true shithouses are the ones that are playing Havant and Waterlooville and are rolling round on a Tuesday night trying to get someone booked from Blythe Spartans.
You've now thrown the whole podcast into disarray.
Oh, no.
I don't know what
I think he's right.
I think you're right. But what I would say is bonus marks if you're also able to do that at the bigger stage. But then maybe you're right in saying bonus marks if you don't.
You don't want to be a fair weather shithouse, do you?
Right,
exactly. Can he be a shithouse on a Tuesday night in Stoke?
Most Stoke players can. Okay, so size of stage, it can be any size of stage in that case. And finally, the fans' view. Now, this is 3 parts. Okay, it's how much they are loved by their own fans, how much they are hated by other fans, but also, and this is the key one, how much they are secretly respected by fans of other teams. That's the one that we're looking for there. So those are the 4 categories. They got 3 out of 4 you agreed with at least. So that's a pretty decent start. I'm going to throw it over to you guys to start off with who you think fits into the category of the best ones of the noughties.
Well, as you were reeling through those categories, one was, because I had him in my head and he was, Mark Van Bommel. I feel like it was his life's aim just to ruin every game of football ever played and just reduce every single game of football into the type that us journalists would refer to as a niggly affair. That was just what he lived for. And you talk about doing it on the big stage. We've got a piece on the Battle of Nuremberg, which is the World Cup quarter-final, Portugal v Holland, where everyone got booked and it was just mental, and De Jong did that terrible... No, that was later on, wasn't it? But all those terrible tackles. He got booked after 2 minutes for just a cynical trip. 2 minutes in, he set the tone there. And that was just him. He was sent off in the last game of his career for PSV. And I was researching him earlier, and there's a video on YouTube. And, the video titles give a lot away as to what kind of a player he is. And it's just Van Bommel is scum. It's just a video of him, elbowing someone, just barging into someone, and then they're all around complaining to the ref, and the fellow who's complaining to the ref, he just grabs his cock, and that's right in front of the ref, and he gets away with it. That is brilliant shithousery. A lot of time for
He's
that.
the type of shithouse that'll elbow you in the head and then like roll around and
Yeah.
hold his elbow and say that you
Yeah.
faced me on the elbow. Like, how dare he do that?
Spot on.
I definitely for consistency, I think he's right up there, isn't he? Like you say, because pretty much game in game out would like to do that.
I think one of his special talents as well is that I probably didn't watch him that much, but every game I watched with him in it was an awful game. Like he just went out, I am going to ruin this game. So anyone that called it the beautiful game, it's like, just show him
I'll show you.
Yeah, a highlights package of Mark Van Bommel, and you go, do you know what, this is horrible actually. It's really nasty.
Danny, who do you want to throw in there?
There's loads of... Kevin Nolan was one that I always thought was a little shithouse. Kevin Nolan was a mad one because I thought he was like, not only was he dirty, I always thought that because he knew people, he's sort of respected figure at Bolton.
Yeah, got away with it.
Yeah, he not only got away with it, but I think he was like the goon in ice hockey. Like I think he was employed by whoever, was it Sam at the time, to just go out and be a shithouse. That was his thing. And the thing that made him more of a shithouse is he'd score as well. Like I think that's the thing. When shithouses are rubbish, you're sort of like, that's literally all he can do. Like with Van Bommel, like he was playing in that he wasn't rubbish by any stretch, but he was playing in that Dutch team with all those amazing, like silky, classy players. You can sort of see that he's just gone, well, this is my role now. I'm the shithouse here. But with Nolan, he was like arguably the best player in that Bolton team as well. So when they beat United, it was always like Nolan would pop up and his little face. I think it's the face.
His little face.
I think it is the face that does it. I think if a shithouse has got like a shithousey face,
I agree.
then they're more of a shit.
When
I think that should have been like number 5 on the.
I can't believe I didn't what their face looks like.
When he brought in the chicken celebration as well, I think he was just looking at all the celebrations, thinking, what can I do that would annoy fans more than any other celebration?
Yeah.
The chicken.
Yeah, definitely.
He nailed it.
Kevin Nolan in there. Rob.
Well, I think, as I say, supporting dirty Leeds, I'm going to have to throw a couple of Leeds players in there.
Good lad, go on.
So to start with one who's probably like my ultimate footballing hero, but David Batty, who is probably more associated with the 90s, but he did play at the start of the noughties, and he was kind of brought back to Leeds to sort of add a bit of steel to a young, up-and-coming side. But I think the thing I really respect about him is that we've mentioned like the snidiness and the vindictiveness and the nastiness. He didn't really have that. He just didn't give a fuck. And that's what I really love about him. And he applied that to every facet of his life. So he's known as being this dour Yorkshireman who doesn't have a bank account and has retired to obscurity. But even in his own training sessions, he just couldn't be asked with like set piece training. So he'd deliberately kick balls everywhere to distract everyone, to the point where everyone would just go, you just go off on your own, David. They had a ball with his name written on it as Batty's ball. So he'd go off and play it on his own. And then you take that into games. I mean, the classic one which we've written about in the 90s is him playing against Sampdoria and just bullying them, and it's a pre-season friendly, and it's just absolutely glorious. He nudges a player over the advertising hoardings and then pretends nothing's even happened. He just takes the throw in. But in the noughties, there's a classic clip of him playing against Cristiano Ronaldo for Man United. It's when he's just joined Man United, he's playing in England for the first time. He's playing at Ellen Road, and he's Ronaldo. Like, he's still got all those traits, the arrogance. He's taking free kicks with his legs wide open, and he's absolutely tearing Gary Kelly to pieces. It's quite like, I feel bad for him. He's just so quick, and Batty clearly sees this and just goes, well, look, he's going to get past me, but if I let him, but I'm just not going to let him. And he just kicks him from pillar to post, and you can see this like 18, 19-year-old Ronaldo just being like, who is this man, and what am I doing here? This is horrible. Like, it's beautiful.
You know, when you speak about David Batty, and it's done in a beautiful way. Yeah. When you speak about David Batty, and quite a lot of these players, they're just effectively the kids that were like that at school anyway, right? But they never went into like proper jobs. So it was presumably when most people go into proper jobs, I can't really behave like that anymore. But football is this kind of outlet to almost encourage that sort of behaviour, and they just never grow. Presumably they just never grow out of it, and they just become more and more in that role of that little kid who was a pain in the arse in class, in the playground, when you pick the teams, wouldn't give the ball back. You know, that kid, and then they just end up having to be professional football players, and they take that into their lives.
He's drinking your milk in the shed fridge at work, with even though the milk's got your name on, and that. It's like he's doing all that stuff. Like, the only thing I didn't obviously like watching Leeds a lot as a United fan. I never really did. I think Cantona maybe. I watched him and then go, I'd love it if we signed him.
Oh yeah, just do us a favour.
But if you've had a fight with your own player on TV, you're a shithouse, aren't you? That's the thing. Like, when he was fighting, was it with Lasso?
Yeah, Blackburn.
Then, but arguably battling over who was the biggest shithouse in that team, because I always thought Lasso was a little shithouse as well, to be honest. So it was weird that.
Who else have we got?
Well, I think we spoke about kind of a Venn diagram of what makes a shithouse, and I think you've got hard men, thugs, and then the real shithouses are snide ones.
Sounds like an old Naughties album now.
But at the centre of all that, like slap bang in the middle, you can do the lot of Sergio Ramos, just king shithouse, because he's just as likely to cut you in half with a terrible tackle as he is it go down, like someone's brushed past you and he goes down clutching his face. But then if they have a go at him, he will stand up and potentially beat you up because he's hard as well. He can handle himself. So, and also he's a proper wind-up merchant. Like, he just spends his entire game just like in players' ears, which I love. I think he's got the most red cards in the league of history. We had a piece, didn't we, Rob, on the most ridiculous red cards of his career.
Yeah, there's some classics in there.
Like getting sent off, purposely sent off against Ajax, wasn't it, in the Champions League, so he could miss the final group game because Real.
Yeah.
And then he boasted about it in the press. Just absolutely.
That's like the opposite of the imaginary yellow card. He's asking for it, which is like a real dedicated level of it. I think he got booked 217 times in La Liga, which is a record, and I think he's been sent off 25 times.
And what I love about him as well, and you mentioned it, Danny, in that the players who are good and do this, and he takes the piss with taking Panenka penalties. That's like, I'm going to do everything. I'm also going to take the piss with the most.
He's arguably the best player who's a shithouse. I think, because the thing is with Ramos, you can't really talk about him being a shithouse without the ellipsis and then he's some player though. Or he's one that you watch as a fan of not Real Madrid. I'll do better England words. But and you always got, I'd love it if we had him on our side. I think he's the most coveted shithouse.
I think so far,
he's king.
So far he ticks most of those categories that we laid out at the start in terms of consistency, size of stage, fans view as well, respected by other fans, hated but loved, and loved by his own fans. He definitely ticks a lot of those boxes.
Quite a punchable face as well, I'd say.
Yeah.
Not that I'd ever dare do it.
Subcategory number 5, which you've added in there.
I used to like his long hair. I thought Ramos is all right, isn't it?
And another one that isn't on the list is the longevity of his shithouse career. Like, even 2 seasons ago, he was still shithousing in the Champions League final, against Liverpool. I don't think any of their fans tweeted about it, but yeah, still at it. Decades later, he's a big one. He's, like I said, he's arguably one of the best shithouse players. Rivaldo is another one who we always thought was a shithouse who is a world-class player. When you get those world-class players that can do a bit of shithousery, obviously the corner against Turkey in the World Cup was arguably the biggest shithouse event of all time.
The shamelessness of it.
Yeah,
you've just got to admire it, haven't you? Fair enough.
Plus, no one's ever got a ball in the face from 40 yards and it's hurt that much anyway. The way he reacted is I can't talk today. How acrobatic the fall was. Yeah. That's another thing as well. You get the shithouses that have obviously worked on the actual falling. Yeah. The dives, they work on the dives, you can see, and I think Rivaldo is one of them.
With Rivaldo there as well, when something happens so quickly and you're able to react as a shithouse so effectively, it's instinctive. Yeah. I mean, fair play. It's inbuilt in you. It's not something you're thinking about. You just do it because that's what you do.
Never off.
It's great.
Natural ability.
You can't teach that.
Okay, where do we go next? Rob, who else have you got?
So to take it back to Leeds, and a guy who sort of picked up the mantle from David Batty, but Alan Smith, who was, he kind of had that local hero, just doesn't care about anyone, kind of vibe to him. And when he broke into the team as like a 17, 18-year-old, and he was playing in a few Leeds games against Arsenal. So Arsenal had Tony Adams and Martin Keown at the back. That's who he was coming up against. And Adams was the England captain at this time. And there's a story that Smith spent the entire game as an 18-year-old just slagging Adams off and bringing up stuff from his personal life. And it got to the point where a different Arsenal player headbutted Smith and got sent off. So he'd wound him up that bad, then down to 10 men. Their 2 centre-backs are completely rattled. And then later that year, I think it was around 2000, 2001, he got called up to the England team. Adams is the captain and Martin Keown's in the team, and he found himself sat next to Martin Keown at dinner. And even Keown then was like, "You're not going to kick me out of here." It was just that he couldn't be doing it.
But he did.
Exactly.
We'd like to think so. Can I just throw one in here as well? Because you mentioned about headbutt and also like a lot of chatting. I love. You never really know what gets said between the players, do you? But there's a lot of chat that goes on. They're just walking towards. In a free kick, it's been taken, and they're just sort of next to each other, and you see them talking to each other, like, what are they actually saying in there? But I just thought, and this was suggested as well, this was tweeted into us at Planet Football, Marco Materazzi, and we talk about on the big stage as well, World Cup final 2006, Italy against France, manages to turn around. When you actually look at that game, he gives away the penalty that puts Italy 1 down. Zidane scores it with that penalty that goes down off the crossbar. It's a bit of a cheeky one. That's a bit of a cheeky one as well. Materazzi then scores to level it up, and in extra time, obviously, manages to say whatever he manages to say to Zinedine Zidane, which has gone down in folklore and various things have been said and suggested about various family members, that Zidane, on the World Cup final, loses his head that much that he headbutts him and gets a red card. And then there's the scene of him walking off the pitch, and there's the plinth on the halfway line with the trophy, the World Cup trophy there, and he has to walk past it, and you think, Materazzi, fair play to you. You've absolutely done him there. And then they go on and win the World Cup, and France lose it. That is an astonishing episode of shithousery, I have to say.
In Zidane's last ever game of football as well, that's basically shaped one of the greatest players of all time. His whole reputation and story of his career is all that moment, basically. And it's all because of Marco Materazzi.
There's one other thing as well, which I love about Materazzi in that, which is that when he goes down after the headbutt, he's rolling around on the floor, and it's not a nothing headbutt, to be fair. He does actually. He does on this occasion. It's like, he's rolling around, but he has been hit a bit. But when he's rolling around, the referee starts running over towards him, and as the referee starts running over towards him, he sort of like looks up a little bit. He's like, "Yeah, I've got him here," and he starts clapping as the referee comes over. I just thought, nice touch, Marco, nice touch. So for me, he would be in there potentially as one of the biggest ones ever.
I think as far as wind-ups go, that won't be beaten, will it? To bring Zinedine Zidane to that action in the last game of his career, that wind-up will never be beaten. That's as good as it gets. I love with Materazzi as well. They had the chance to win the title, and he didn't take penalties, but he thought, well, I'm having this, and then he missed it. Brilliant. Bit of calm.
Probably blame, why did you let me take that? On the other hand, though, I mean, Zidane didn't win the World Cup, but he got a great ending to his DVD. Yeah. That's what, I mean, the conspiracy theories around that are about. Going back to Smith, actually, I love the idea, by the way, of him telling Tony Adams that Caprice isn't that fit at the corner. I wonder what he said. But as a United fan, I've never been so conflicted in my life, because we didn't really have that many shithouses in the side. Because we had Roy Keane, I don't think he would allow it. He'd be like, what do you do with proper men? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you had the hard men you were talking about at the beginning. It's a different type of aggression, isn't it?
Definitely. And then when we signed Smith, I was like, I hate this guy. I can't believe we've signed it. And like the only good thing is that like Leeds fans are so wound up that we've signed him. That's the only good thing, and we got him for pennies because they've been relegated. And then like after like 2 games, he ended up playing as like a centre midfielder or something. I was like, absolutely love this guy. To the point that where he broke his leg, I was gunning for Risa, man. I was going to go around there. Like,
I don't want to talk about Alan Smith. It makes me quite upset.
I like how Danny dropped in a few facts there. We got him for buttons. Leeds have been relegated.
Yeah, just throw it in. He wasn't that cheap, to be fair. He wasn't that. I think he went for about 7 mil or something.
I was there. He
peanuts.
Grew up in Rothwell, where I grew up, and after he made that move, angry Leeds fans went round to egg his house, but they egged the wrong house. I think they egged the next door neighbour's house. But there's a great Smith moment in one of the European games. I can't remember which, where he's sort of pictured shouting at the linesman. It's like Alan Partridge shouting down. He's going, linesman, linesman, linesman. And the linesman eventually looks and he just goes, fuck off. Which is just absolutely superb.
Right, any more for any more here?
I think on a similar kind of theme, Craig Bellamy, I mean, Sir Bobby Robson said he was the gobbiest footballer he'd ever met. He's made Sir Bobby Robson say something bad about him. I think on the likeability factor, Rich, he might not be that well liked at Newcastle because he threw a chair at John Carver. He faked an injury under Souness to get out of playing, and he was texting Shearer telling him his legs had gone and he was shit and all this. So they probably don't think that much of him, but I used to really like him at City, actually. And obviously he smacked Reece with the golf club. But I think he's just one of those players who just for 90 minutes is on at the full back, just, man, you're shit, mate, I'm going to do it. And you can see it, and he makes no secret of it, and I absolutely love that about him.
He was a good, one of those players that was actually a good goal scorer as well. He scored plenty of goals, and if he was in your team, you'd get that from him.
Yeah, them goals against United really hurt. Like when the shithouse scores against you, that's worse.
After been giving it all the game.
Oh my God, he's actually backed it up. Yeah. And all you think of is like, he's going to be loving this tonight, him. Like, you can just imagine him on the bus going home, giving it like, does not see me make a fool of Rio there. And I was like, I hated Bellamy. United had a good shit house. I forgot to mention was Gabby Heinzer. I said we didn't have any. So we had him and Smith at the same time playing in that horrible blue kit with the red trim. And
one tends to bring the best out the other, don't they? And that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he was one of those shithouses that do that. Like the defender shithouses, they've got like little tricks that they do. You know when they like clear the ball, but they like carry on following through, so their foot carries all the way around, and he'll kick you in the shoulder and stuff. Heinzer was really good at that. And then we all loved him because he was ours. But then when he agitated to a move to Liverpool, we're like, oh no, you are a bad guy actually. You're the worst guy. And now he's at United forums and that often they talk about the greatest ever Argentinian, and he probably arguably is one. Him and Tevez are the two. And they're both the biggest shithouses we've had in the last 20 years, probably.
I like that on little things that you can kind of get away with, like, say, following through. Another one's when the ref's blowing up, but you pretend not to hear it and then get a late tackle. What are you going to do?
Yeah, yeah. And the kick a ball away as well.
Before the yellow card came in, kick ball. Oh, I'm so sorry. The crowd's so loud. I couldn't hear. I thought it was someone else's whistle in the crowd. No, mate, you just kicked it away because you're time wasting. We had some other ones that were sent through as well at Planet Football. And if you want to get in touch with us about anything, by the way, that's the best place to do it. At Planet Football on Twitter is the place to go. But we did have some honorary mentions as well for ones that we haven't mentioned yet.
Yeah, there's loads actually. There's Paul Sharner from Retrospectus Code Break. I'm glad you left that one for me, Rich.
What was the name of that person?
I'm not repeating it. Come on. Ricardo Carvalho, which is, I feel like there's a lot of Portuguese shithouses for some reason. Dennis Wise, who we left out just because he was more 90s, but again, talking about things you could get away with. Zola was saying that he used to pick players up, like he'd foul them, and then he'd like, get up, but he'd be digging his nails in and taking back.
He'd grow his nails for the games just to be able to do that, which is pretty heavy.
Just on one hand as well, like them freaky guitar players.
That was Mark Lewis who sent that in. We had Dennis Bergkamp, which I thought was a great shout, John O'Bagnall, because he like we're saying about great players, but he loved an elbow, didn't he, Bergkamp? He was definitely had a nasty streak to him.
He's sneakiness, category 1. He definitely does well on that one, yeah.
And it's the good players in it who get away with it. He's Bergkamp, he's silky, he's a flair player. He didn't mean that. No, he definitely did mean it.
Yeah. And weird thing as well is that you mentioned Portuguese players and stuff. Ronaldo famously, the winky shithouse and all that stuff like that. In my head, like, those are like proper foreign players in the Premier League. But players from like Germany or Holland are like, they're foreign, but they're like English, aren't they?
Yeah.
So I think that's another reason why Bergkamp got away with a load of shit, because it's like he did stuff that, like, I don't know, like Gary Neville might do, like English. He was very English in his shithousery as opposed to the rolling around and all that stuff.
He assimilated.
Yeah.
We haven't really mentioned that. I mean, that Ronaldo win, we're talking about big stage and things like that. That was a pretty big stage to be a shithouse on, wasn't it?
Yeah, and we'll hear more about that in the interview with Mark Halsey later. But yeah, that's one thing that we maybe haven't spoke about, is that determination to get other people into the book and sent off, and Ronaldo.
Your own teammate as well. God, just the bastardry of that is like.
But I don't think Rooney would have cared. I honestly, he would have. Fair play, it's part of the game, innit?
Yeah, they'd have
done me over there.
They'd have got back to Carrington and he'd have been like, "Oh yeah, I wish I'd have thought of it."
Definitely.
You've out shithoused me. Fair play to you. Fair play to you. Do you want to do any more on that section, or do you want to go into?
I feel like we should give Gennaro Gattuso a mention for this, just because I was doing a quick bit of research before we came here and searching his name on YouTube. Do you know how you get like skills compilations now, and it'll be like Lionel Messi 2012-13 goals, skills, assists, and it'll have like a big house music background to it. I searched Gattuso's name and he's got season compilations for, and I quote, aggressiveness. So it was Gennaro Gattuso, aggressiveness 2011-12, and it was like, fair play, you've done well.
Just not even on the pitch either, just like driving too close on the motorway.
Okay, plenty more to come. Football Fact or Football Fiction returns for the first time on this series of the Broken Metatarsal. And lots more on the way as well. But first, we thought if we were going to talk about players who behave in such a way, we should really speak to a referee who has to deal with it the whole time. So here's what happened when we caught up with former Premier League referee Mark Halsey. Thank you so much for joining us on the Broken Metatarsal. It's absolutely great to speak to you.
Pleasure to speak to you guys.
We're, of course, talking about players that are a little bit... What's the best way of putting this? Is it difficult? Is that the best way of putting it? A little bit. It's the sneaky players, the ones that like to get away with stuff that the ref can't see.
Well, all the players try to get away with things, don't they? But that's what we're there for, to referee them, and they do what they can to get what they can out of us, and that's what we're there for. It's like sometimes I always used to say, right, come on, like guys, to my guys, we're going to war now, let's go and do battle, but let's go out and enjoy it.
It's interesting that you said it's going to battle. I kind of thought it might be like, trying to control the kids' party, with all like your kids' friends that have gone around, but you were like literally going into war with these players.
Yeah, well, I always found it harder to control kids to controlling the guys on the football park.
Were there any players, honestly, where you just thought, right, I'm reffing a certain team, I know this one is going to be a nightmare. Where even if he's under control, he's still going to be basically a pain in the arse.
Well, I wouldn't. Listen, I mean, yeah, you do. You know your players. You know what they're like. I mean, I always remember Cristiano Ronaldo. We all know what he was like. He was a fantastic player, graced any football pitch he was on, but he used to go down easy, didn't he? He used to try to do what he can to get what he can out of referees. I remember refereeing Liverpool Man United at Anfield, and I toss the coin, and we do the toss the coin, and I always walk across, and he happened to be on the halfway line, and I just walked back past him, I just went and said, hey, Christian, don't you be going down easy today, because you'll get absolutely F all out of me today. And he just smiled. It worked. He went down. If he was fouled, he was fouled. He went down naturally, and he got what he deserved.
How much is going on that we're not seeing? Because that the forwards are leaning back and stepping on the toes and all that kind of stuff. Are you seeing that?
You are. And to be fair, the guys expect you to let a certain amount go. A little bit of a hold here, a little bit of a hold there, or a little block here and a little block there. As fans, people don't see us. I mean, I always used to be shouting at them all the time, hey, let him go, leave him alone, I'm watching.
When you look back, there are obviously players that do everything they can that player on the opposition, I'm going to wind him up so much today until he snaps. So when you look back at any of those matches that you referee, was there a pair, one from each team, where there was like a kind of ongoing duel where you thought all sorts of things are being said and all they're trying to do is get a reaction?
Yeah, of course you do. That goes on all the time with players. On the pitch, they're at each other, daggers and knives and, at each other all the time. But off the pitch, they're totally different. And that's where, so once you cross that white line, you're there to get involved, sort them out, talk to them, bring them together, or, bring the captain together and just try and stop them from getting in trouble. Sometimes, sometimes you have to end up giving 2 yellow cards just to calm them down. Because if you don't, then you could end up having a red card. But
did you end up ever laughing at them? Some of the stuff that are coming out of just goodness sake, lads.
Many times. I mean, many times. I had many battles with all the top players. I always remember. I used to have banter with all the players. They know that. I had banter. I had good banter with Patrick Vieira. He always used to make him laugh. Although he used to give me a lot of volley of abuse.
Cheers for that, Patrick.
Yeah, but we got on fame. We always end up shaking hands and having a laugh and a smile. But they knew if they stepped out of line, I would deal with them. I would stamp my authority on the game. Whether it be in the 5th minute or the 22nd minute. And there are times where you don't need the use of a yellow card to stamp your authority on the field of play.
Yeah, go straight for the red.
It's verbal communication and the eyes. That tells them.
Sorry, that one first. Yeah.
Talking about yellow cards, Mark, I think one of the little advantages footballers have over refs at time is that there's certain fouls they can make that they know you can only give a yellow card for. When players see someone running through on a counter attack, just say, I'm going to have his legs here. It's only going to be a booking. I'm fine.
Yeah, I mean, I always remember chasing Wayne Rooney when he was playing for United. It was United Everton, and United were 1-0 up, and Taylor was gone. Come out and he was away. And Wayne was chasing him. I'm going, no, don't do it, Wayne, don't do it. And he's dived him down. He's gone, Mark, I deserve that. I've got the yellow card out straight away. I said, thanks for that, Wayne.
I like that. I like the fact he said, yeah, I know what's coming here. I deserve it. It's my own fault. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was, and when you have that rapport with the players, it makes it easier because sometimes you can get away with little errors. They don't mind you making little errors. I always remember sending Sol Campbell off at Highbury against Manchester United, elbow Solskjaer, and he missed the cup. I mean, I didn't know he missed the cup final, but he weren't happy with me because the following season, first game of the season, this was in the April, first game of the season, Arsenal Everton. He wouldn't speak to me at first, and I said, "Come on, Sol, we've got to get on. You've got to speak to me." He said, "Okay, Mark, yeah." I said, "That's gone. Listen, we've got to speak. You're captain. We need to speak to each other." And 2 minutes later, I sent him off again. Opportunity. But then the next time up at Newcastle, when he was at Newcastle, he just didn't want to speak to me. So, but you can understand. But I sent him off. He missed the cup final through me, but it wasn't my fault. But I always remember refereeing at Bramwell Lane, Neil Warnock. I mean, get on famously with Neil. Off the pitch, fantastically. I always remember it was Sheffield United and Reading, and they're both going for the Premier League. It was a championship game, and Sheffield United were 1-0 up, and Reading were on the attack. And goalkeeper, who was in goal for Sheffield United then? Paddy Kenny. Paddy Kenny, good. Another great character. And he brings down the Reading forward. So I straight away points to the spot and he goes, "No problem, Mark." He didn't say that. You know that with Paddy. When he gives a penalty away, he just walks back to his line. And all of a sudden, I turn around, Neil Warnock comes sprinting down the line, having a right go at me. So I turned round to walk back up to see what he's doing. And all of a sudden, he's seen me walking towards me. He's put the brakes on, turned round, and run back down the tunnel. And he never came back out. He comes in, he knocks on my door. He says, "Who is it?" He said, "It's me, Mark. It's Neil." I said, "Neil, you're not coming in. You're not coming in because I know what you're going to say." "No, Mark, I just want to come in and say what a good game you had, and just to check that he didn't send me off."
He didn't want to make sure he hadn't been sent off.
So he thought, "No, he hadn't." I said, "No, I haven't sent you off. You went down of your own accord."
We're going to kind of have to slightly put you on the spot. And I don't like to do this, but we're going to anyway.
Don't lie. Don't lie.
Yeah. Well, do you know what? I am lying. We do want to do that completely. When we talk about players who were shithouses, which ones were the nightmare that were always going to try and do stuff behind your back, try and get the edge that they want? Who were the players? Who were the two or three that really spring to mind for you? The ones that really needed monitoring?
I have to say, I never had a problem. I mean, I always had a problem with Danny Mills. Danny Mills is a great lad off the pitch. Utmost respect for him. But on the pitch, he never stopped moaning. Never stopped. He said to me, I refereed him. It was at Middlesbrough. I must have refereed him about 5 times that season, 6 times. And I cautioned him every time. And of course, going down to last game of the season at Fratton Park for Middlesbrough, I give a penalty against him. He weren't too happy. Following season, first game of the season, I'm referee. He goes to Man City, so I'm at Man City, and he came into the tunnel. He said to me, he said, "I've been told I've got to be nice to you because Man City like you." And I think that goes back to the playoff final in 1999. He said, they like you, Man City, so I've got to be good to you. And anyway, so he goes into the game. First free kick he gives away, and normally he's straight at you. And I've given a free kick, and he's accepted it. He ain't said nothing to me, nothing at all. And I'm thinking, Jesus, Danny, what? I said, "You're okay." He said, "No, I've been told I've got to be nice to you today." So anyway, at the end of the game, I mean, Man City come win 4-0, and he comes right out. He says, "Mark, well done."
You reformed him. You tamed Danny Mills.
I tamed Danny Mills. I've never had a problem with him when he was at Man City.
Who were the players that you knew they could go through the back of someone, the clearest yellow card you'll ever see, then they'll get up in your face and be moaning at you?
Most probably Robbie Savage. But again, I've worked with Robbie after football, and you go back and you talk about things and you reminisce, and Robbie was a pain in the backside. He knows that, but that's what he's on there for, and that's what he's there for, and that's for us to sort him out. And it's like referees. We need characters. We need characters in football. We need characters in refereeing. You can still be a character, and you can still referee in that manner. But John Terry as well, because he always used to come in with a team sheet. Obviously with the manager, he used to come in shape, and I always used to slap him round the face. I always used to go, greet him with a couple of slaps round the face, only lightly in a gesture. He says, "Why do you always do that to me when I come in with a team sheet?" I says, "Because I can't do it out there."
Get in early.
So that got. I've done that all the time, and everyone just relaxes the dressing room, and away you go. It's about you've got to have a laugh with them. You've got to have a laugh with them. It's in the entertainment business. You've got a job to do, but at the same time, you you can still enjoy what you do.
Mark, thank you so much for taking the time out to chat with us and reminisce about those players and those times and those shithouses, for want of a better word, that you had the pleasure of refereeing on a weekly basis.
Hang on a minute, you're allowed to use that language on that.
Oh, yeah.
Don't worry about that.
Oh,
yeah.
Why did you want to start using it earlier? Sorry, we should have told you at the start. Mark Halsey there, kind of really interesting. I guess that he didn't mention any names that you were surprised to hear, I guess, fitting into that category. But I guess that is the thing about shithouses, isn't it? You know who they are. But certainly, Danny Mills in there, slapping John Terry around the face.
I love that. I want to know what else goes on between refs and players, but I want to know also how much players like that. I got the impression Mark Halsey, thought it was all fair game, but I bet John Terry absolutely hated it.
You can imagine him going back into the changing room there, Kate, going, it's Halsey.
He's done it again.
It's like when you're at a gig as a comic and the sound tech comes in and he's like doing all the bands and like, oh, you back here to go, you put weight on. You're like, mate, don't twiddle some knobs, bro.
But what I also liked on that note, and you definitely get this impression, is he was talking about Kenwyne Jones at Stoke, and he was saying about when Danny Mills went to Man City, that teams have favourite refs, and they kind of say, be nice to this guy because he's actually all right with us, and you definitely get that impression at times. So it's interesting that it really does happen.
One player that was mentioned that I don't think gave a toss who he was playing for, who he was playing against, who the referee was, who was going to be a shithouse either way, was Robbie Savage, who we mentioned, who he also said that, he's dealt with him plenty, and it's part of his persona, Robbie Savage, really, isn't it? But he's got to go down as one of the number ones, I would have thought.
It's just the pantomime surrounding Savage was, again, it's just sort of admirable. Like, even when it was going wrong for him, when he was getting headbutted by Dublin and the ref punched him, didn't he, that time? It was just sort of part of his persona. It fit really well. I mean, I went back and I read an old copy of the Square Border Leeds United fanzine, and it was around the 1993 FA Youth Cup final when it was Leeds v Man United, where it's the class of 92, it's Beckham and all that. And there's just a random line in there, and it says, I don't know who the long blonde-haired number 2 was trying to be, but if it was a dickhead, he definitely succeeded. And then I looked back through the teams, and it's Robbie Savage. Do you know what? Fair play. He's just been like that all his life, and you've got to respect that.
He's another one, like I mentioned with Nolan, that that was his role in the team. Like you could, because he wasn't amazing, was he? He was an all right Premier League player.
Budget Van Bommel.
Yeah, exactly. Van Beemel. But yeah, you thought that's the reason, especially later on when he signed for Derby and stuff. That was the reason he was there, to sort of just get about it and be a shitbag. I did Sport Relief did a charity five-a-side thing about 2 years ago at Salford at the Media City, where it was like loads of different teams from everywhere. There was like an actors team and there was just kids teams and stuff like that. We put a comedians team in, and there was Robbie Savage and another player who was also a shithouse, but like more of a famous shithouse. And before we were there warming up, and we were waiting for our slot, and there was like a girls team, and Robbie Savage absolutely double-footed this girl. And because it wasn't AstroTurf, and it was like this weird, like yoga mat stuff. That's what we were playing on, and because it was dead wet, it was dead slidey, and he must have took off from about 50 feet away, so he knew exactly what he was doing, and he just absolutely cool runnings into her, and just took the ball off her, and we told the other player, when we were kicking off, I was like, "Oh, I'm glad we didn't get him," and he was just like, "Oh, why is he being a knobhead again?"
A charity thing where Dean Windass was the after dinner speaker, and he's what he's like. He's funny, Dean Windass, and he told the story about him and Robbie Savage. And I'm not really a fan of people repeating other stories because you can never do it justice. So bear with me on that. But he said when he was playing for Bradford, this will be like early noughties. They went to Leicester, Filbert Street as it was, and they played in a team. Paul Jewell would have been manager of Bradford team with like David Weatherall and that kind of era. And Paul Jewell sits him down before the game, and he says, Dino, Robbie Savage is going to do everything he can today to wind you up. Don't let him. And Dino's like, all right, Paul, no problem, Gaffer. Yeah, it's all right, it's fine. I'm not going to let him wind me up. Anyway, they go out, and straight away, Robbie Savage is having a dig about Dean Windass's weight at the time, right? Okay, and they're together. They're having it, and he's going from it. And Paul Jewell's on the sound like he can see that Dean Windass is getting wound up. Dean Windass gets a yellow card, pull him in at half time, and he says, Dino, I told you, don't let yourself get wound up by Robbie Savage. Anyway, the game continues, and at the end of the day, they lose the game 3-0, and they go back in afterwards, and Windass has got his head down, and he knows he's been played by Savage for the whole game. Usual stuff, little tug, little word here, word there, and he hasn't had a great game. And he says, "I'm sorry, Gaffer, I've let the team down. And Paul Jewell doesn't even want to speak to him. They've lost 3-0, and that's the end of it. Paul Jewell walks out, and they're all getting changed. And Dean Windass turns around to David Weatherall and says, "Where's Savage?" And they're like, what do you mean? "I want to go and find Savage now." So David Weatherall's like, "Listen, Dino, I don't know if this is a great idea. I'm not sure if this is really sensible. Where is he?" "Well, he's in the players' lounge at the moment. He's in the bar area over there. That's where he is at the moment." So they get dressed. Dean Windass says he's marching out there. David Weatherall's on his shoulder. "Come on, Dino, don't do anything silly here, mate. Don't do anything silly. All right, I know he's wound you up a little bit." And they go into the bar area, and there's loads of people at the bar. And he sees the blonde hair of Robbie Savage facing the other way at the bar. So he marches over to him and he taps him on the shoulder. And he goes, "Oi, Savage." And Savage turns around and says, "Dino, so nice to see you. Let me introduce you to my mum and dad." Dean Windass goes, "Mr. and Mrs. Savage, really nice to meet you." And they were getting a drink together. And just how the shithousery from the whole game. And then straight away, as soon as it's levelled out, it's like, "I've done you up here and here's my mum and dad." And he couldn't do anything about it. I just thought it was great. He tells it much better than me. I wouldn't claim to tell it as well as him, but I just thought it really sums up Robbie Savage. And that kind of player as well that sort of gets away with it. It's a player that gets away with it, and he kind of fits into that category for me as well. Right, let's move from Robbie Savage to our first football fact, football fiction of the new series. You all have a piece of paper in front of you with a fact on, but only one of them's a real fact. The other two are totally made up, and they're all about shithouses. Mark, why have you got a smile on your face? You haven't even started yet.
It's series 2 and I haven't done any research again.
Oh, what a surprise. That is a running theme that hasn't changed. Okay, so let's start then with the man who's done no research. What a surprise. Mark Holmesy Holmes, what have you got for football fact, football fiction?
Funnily enough, this is about Savage. Roy Keane, when he was Sunderland manager, had the chance to sign Savage. He was quite interested in him, which kind of surprises me, but he obviously wanted a bit of a presence, let's say, in midfield. So anyway, he rings up Savage to see if he fancies coming. Savage doesn't answer. He goes to answer phone, and it's, "Hi, it's Robbie. What's up?" Keane sticks the phone straight down. No, not signing him, just based on that.
I think that's a reasonable way to scout people to answer phone first. Danny, what you got, mate?
Craig Bellamy had to do yoga as a penance before John Arne Riise would forgive him for the putter incident. Riise wasn't happy, thought he was too angry, and he thought that yoga would help his temper, calm him down. He'd benefit from that.
And he said, I'm not gonna go anywhere near him until I've seen that he's gone through a strict yoga routine.
Yeah,
he can do the downward dog, and we're all good to go.
Like at work, when you get discipliners and stuff, and they make you sort of do things to get out of it. That's what Riise thought that Bellamy should do.
Yoga was the way forward
to calm him down, because it was going to happen again, and he was like, "You can punish him, but you won't cure him."
So they didn't decide to go for a round of golf together.
Absolutely not.
Let's go for a nice, relaxing round of golf together. And Rob, what have you got?
So we've mentioned Sergio Ramos. I don't think we mentioned his partner in crime, Pepe.
Oh, yeah.
Another Portuguese player, coincidentally, Mark. But when they were together at Real Madrid, the club had to bring in a referee for training because they kept injuring their own strikers, basically, in 11v11 games in training. They would get so het up. And basically it was like the first 11 against the reserves. So players like that first season they were together, Soldado was there, the crap Tottenham striker, and basically he didn't make it at Real Madrid because he just kept getting bullied by Pepe and Ramos in training.
So the coaches felt that the manager and coaches felt they couldn't deal with this themselves. They had to bring in an actual referee. Mark Halsey-esque to come in and slap one of them around the face beforehand basically. And just sort them out.
So Ramos, he's been booked 217 times in La Liga. In Real Madrid training, he was getting booked and everything just to try and get him to calm down. Like, look, you're walking a tightrope. If you do this again, you're off, mate.
I love the idea of taking the shithousery into training with your own teammates as well. That is a dedicated
You've got to practice it. You can't just pull it out on a Saturday.
And if the ref's there, you get to wave fake yellow cards.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you think they were just trying to get it out of the system?
I don't know if Ramos was trying to get booked to miss games like he was doing against Ajax and stuff like that, but maybe.
Banned from tomorrow's training session. Nice one.
Roy Keane and Robbie Savage with the answer phone message. Do you think he didn't even leave him an answer phone message? He just put the phone down and that was that?
Yeah, exactly that. So Savage was at he would have been at Blackburn at the time, and he didn't pick up, went straight to answer phone. Literally as soon as he heard that, he didn't even wait for the bleeps. He just straight down, I am not having that, and that was that. Never rung him back.
Roy Keane's not the kind of player or manager who's going to stand for that kind of nonsense, is he?
Exactly that, yeah. I mean, he doesn't need to have a conversation with him. Those 3 words, That's enough.
I can't believe he wanted to sign Savage. You just can't even imagine him in the same changing room, can you?
Well, maybe that's the thing. He was probably in the doubt about it, thinking he seems like a bit of a knobhead, but I'll give him a call. He might be all right off the pitch. He is that. Nah, not having that.
Danny, you said you played with him at this thing down at Media City.
Played against him.
I was just going to say, you didn't get his number, did you? We can try it out now and just see if it's still the same one.
Yeah, when he was on the side, he was going, "Rah." Like from the other Budweiser advert. He only talks in Budweiser adverts.
Okay, and Craig Bellamy with yoga. Do you think he still keeps that up now, Craig Bellamy? He's still doing the yoga?
Because he does seem a lot calmer when you see him like punditry and on Sky and stuff. And I think he's a coach now at Cardiff. Am I right? I don't know. He's certainly done that. You need to be a lot calmer to do that. I can't imagine him like smashing under 12s in the head with the putter, so like, unless it's like a crazy golf putter, it's age appropriate.
Didn't he?
I'm not sure smashing a 12-year-old in the head with a putter is age appropriate, regardless of the size of the putter.
It's a foam one, maybe.
That's fine.
I'll give you that.
Didn't he leave Cardiff as coach amid accusations of bullying?
Oh, maybe. I don't know. Well, maybe he didn't. So maybe the yoga there.
Yeah, let's give it up.
Crazy golf takes on a whole new meaning, doesn't it? Okay, I am going to go with. Oh man, this is one of those things, and this was the problems I had on the last series. Is that they're all ridiculous, but they're all sort of could be true in a weird way as well. I'm not going with the Ansfo message. I don't believe that. I'm not sure about the yoga either. I think I'm going to go with having to bring a ref into training between Sergio Ramos and Pepe just to calm things down.
I'm afraid that's false.
Oh man, no.
They were allowed to wreak havoc.
Who was it?
Mine's false too.
It's the Ansfo message.
Yeah.
Honestly,
the actual quote from Keane when he heard it was, "I'm not fucking having that."
Yeah. I never called him back. I can't be fucking signing that.
And that seems an appropriate place to end things today. This episode was brought to you by our friends at Football Index, the football stock market where you can buy and sell players for real money. Sign up today at footballindex.co.uk and use the code TBMIndex to trade with a £500 money back guarantee. New customers only, 18 plus, and of course you can contact us at Planet Football. We are on Twitter, or you can email contact@planetfootball.com. Mark, Rob, Danny, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much for having me.
Great to be back.
Cheers.
And we'll see you next time on the Broken Metatarsal.